It's officially almost time for Tomodachi Life Living the Dream, with it releasing in around a week's time. And it's safe to say, not only am I incredibly excited to actually play the game, but I'm also excited to see what on earth happens on the internet once it's released. But despite the fact that we've had not only a direct about the game, but also loads of different trailers, there's actually a ton of information that Nintendo haven't told you about Tomodachi Life Living the Dream that's been locked behind support pages or just exclusive to the Japanese website. And some of this information is actually incredibly important. So today we're going to go through everything you need to know about Tomodachi Life Living the Dream. So as you probably know, Tomodachi Life Living the Dream is a life sim truly unlike anything out there. Now I feel like every single life sim that comes out at the moment is compared to Animal Crossing, which makes sense. This is the biggest and most popular life sim we've seen recently, but I do want to make sure that Animal Crossing fans aren't disappointed with Tomodachi Life, because really its only similarities with the likes of Animal Crossing is the fact that you can have an island which you can decorate yourself and that the game runs on in real life time. Everything else is completely different in truly the most unhinged way possible. Now I will say, if you haven't already, go play the demo. As whilst this isn't incredibly long, you can probably get about 2 to 3 hours out of it, depending on how long it takes you to make a Mii, but this will give you enough gameplay for you to kind of figure out if this is a game you like, or if this is a little bit too different from what you originally thought it would be. I personally was completely sold by the demo. I thought it was fantastic and stopped it early so that I can enjoy more for the full release. But the biggest thing this demo will do is show you that the main way Tomodachi Life sets itself apart from all of the other life sims is the fact that you are what they call the Caretaker, or in my playthrough, the Great Overlord, as you will be able to not only make the Miis to put in the game itself, which by the way we have had confirmation now that you'll be able to have up to 70 Miis on your island, which truly, as someone who has never played Tomodachi Life before and has been an Animal Crossing girly, this seems like an awful lot of villagers for one island, but I'm excited to see how it's all going to work. Now one tip I do have for you is that you might want to start planning those Miis right about now, as you don't want your first day of playing Tomodachi Life to be sitting there figuring out what Mii you want to make. I'm going to go for a theme, so I think I'm going to go for a Nintendo themed island and make all the Nintendo characters like Zelda, Link, Mario, Peach, all of those, and see what chaos kind of happens. But to make sure you can get the most out of your first day playing, I would plan 5 to 10 different Miis that you want on your island, and also have a think about the island name. I also would say plan to spend a lot of time making the Miis themselves, as the Mii maker is so unbelievably detailed. There are a ton of extra options to choose from. But in Tomodachi Life, you're not just making the Miis, you're also controlling them, kind of. Like, you'll be able to bring them food when they're hungry, but you won't be able to choose what food they like, so you'll have to figure that out for yourself. You'll also be able to suggest different topics for the Miis to talk about, but truly the magic of Tomodachi Life isn't in what you choose to make them do, it's in what they decide to do for themselves. And actually, one of my favorite features from the demo itself was the fact that when you interacted with the Miis and made them happy, you'd get points which would allow you to level up your town. And these points could be used to unlock different personality quirks, which you could then use on each of the Miis to give them a little bit more character. Now, Tomodachi Life has very different trailers based on what region that you're in. And this is even true for the eShop pages as well. So I took a quick look at what the Japanese page was looking like, and this honestly had some fantastic stuff. First of all, we get to see a grown man fall in love with a penguin. We also get to see 2 Miis get in a fight. There's also a tiny snippet where we get to see more about the pets, where if you remember from the main trailer, we get to hand draw them, although I do hope not all pets are hand drawn. Now, one thing we did find out through the demo is that you can actually toggle on and off the ability for your Miis to have babies, which I do think is a cool option to have, as you can truly tailor your gameplay. And in the Q&A, it also revealed that Mii couples will be able to have kids regardless of the gender of the parents, which I absolutely love and will only add to the chaos. We also found out that you can set up family relationships with some of the Miis, so you can set up not only siblings, but also marital status as well, so you can stop anything funky from going on in your island, thankfully. Another thing that we got to learn through the Q&A is the fact that shared data and islands will not be shared with other users on the same console. So unlike the likes of Animal Crossing New Horizons, each user on the Nintendo Switch will be able to have their very own Tomodachi Life island. Now, Pokopia was the exact same, so I do feel like this is a new direction that Nintendo's going in that I love, because this means there doesn't need to be any arguments or any disputes on how the island is run or made. You each get your own islands, which you can do whatever you want on. Now, one other thing to bear in mind before you buy Tomodachi Life Living the Dream is that Miis cannot be shared. You see, Nintendo letting us do whatever we want on our Tomodachi Life islands has come at a cost, as they've basically turned off some of the big functionalities of the Switch and the Switch 2. As not only will you not be able to take screenshots or videos when you play the game, but you also can't really share Miis. As not only have they stopped you from being able to import Mii characters from games such as Miitopia, they've also stopped you from being able to share Miis altogether, which is a big disappointment considering this was a big function in the 3DS version. So this basically means that every single Mii that is going to be on your island is a Mii that you need to make. Now, thankfully, there are already tutorials available online to try and make some iconic characters. It's just something to bear in mind if you're someone who doesn't necessarily enjoy making Miis all that much, especially since you can have 70 of them. Oh, and if you are someone who wants to post or take pictures of your Tomodachi Life gameplay and are worried Nintendo might come after you, they said it's perfectly fine to share pictures or videos. They're just making it a little bit more difficult. Now, if you are excited for Tomodachi Life Living the Dream, then you won't have long to wait, as it's going to release on April 16th. And if it's like every other Nintendo first-party game out there, this will be released at midnight at your local time, for most people. For some people, like for example Pacific time in America, you'll actually end up getting the game earlier than midnight. Also, as of today, if you pre-order the game on the eShop right now, it will actually already be downloaded to your Switch, but just a warning, this also means that you'll be charged for it. If you're buying the game physically, then you're gonna have to wait basically until the shop's open or until your package gets delivered. Now, this is a Nintendo Switch game and not a Nintendo Switch 2 game. So this means that if you do buy it physically, you already know the entire game is gonna be on the cartridge. And don't worry, if you have a Switch 2, the game is fully compatible on it. However, thanks to the Q&A, we know a few extra details and some settings you're going to want to change to make the most out of the game. You see, even though there isn't an official Switch 2 version, we've actually already had confirmation that the game will be running in 1080p in handheld. So in handheld, you'll be able to play the game at a higher resolution on the Switch 2 than you can on the Switch 1. But if you want to get the most out of it, you need to turn boost mode on the Nintendo Switch 2 off. Now, if you didn't know, boost mode is a new feature that was added in the last Nintendo Switch 2 update. And this effectively got rid of one of the biggest problems on the Switch 2, and that is that if you play a Switch 1 game in handheld, it will look blurry on the Switch 2, because it's a 720p image that's been stretched to 1080p. And to find this setting, you need to go into the settings menu and all the way down to system, and then you scroll all the way down again to get to Nintendo Switch software handling. And this will take you to boost mode. Now, for Tomodachi Life, they've actually recommended that you turn off boost mode. You see, the issue with boost mode is that it disables the touchscreen, which is something that is incredibly useful for Tomodachi Life. Now, there is a chance, given their wording, that boost mode might be automatically disabled when you play Tomodachi Life, but considering that we don't know this for sure, as of right now, it's a good setting to know. Speaking of using a touchscreen, this is a great time to say that there are Stylus that work on the Switch and Switch 2 touchscreen. And this is something you might want to look into if you're planning on doing a lot of drawing in Tomodachi Life. If you spent any time on the Mii Maker, you would have come across this Pro mode, which allows you to effectively add face paint to any of the characters. And this can add either a lot more detail or make them look truly cursed, depending on what you're going for. Now, you don't necessarily have to buy Nintendo's own Stylus, But a lot of people have said, especially if you have nails like me, that having a stylus can make things a lot easier and your drawings a lot better. So it's definitely something to look into, and I'm going to order a few off of Amazon myself just to test them out, so I'll let you know which ones I like the most. Now, so far we don't have any other information about how this is going to run or play on the Switch 2. The Q&A just said that the Switch 2 would benefit from things like reduced loading times and game chat functionality. The only thing we don't really know about is whether this game is going to look any better when it's docked versus the Nintendo Switch 1 version. So for that, we're just going to have to wait and see. Now, if you missed it, just a few days ago, we got a brand new Tomodachi Life trailer. And this had a focus on the jobs and the friendships. Now, one thing I do recommend that you do before you play Tomodachi Life Living the Dream is go to each of the different regions' YouTube channels and figure out which Mii voices you like the best. Because depending on the region you set your Tomodachi game to will determine what accents your Miis will have. And I've heard a lot of people really hate on the English version. Now, even though we do know a ton about this game already, thanks to the many trailers we've gotten, there are a few things which I'm maybe a little bit worried about going into it. And the biggest one, I think, is just how much is there to do and how much time am I going to get out of this game? Because whenever I've looked up things to do with the 3DS version, there seems to be a real mix of opinions. Because while some people say it's kind of like The Sims and it's a complete sandbox and it's as long as you want to make it, there have also been a fair number of people say that after about the 20-hour mark, things started to get a little bit stale, with events beginning to repeat themselves and them very much feeling like they've seen everything that this game has to offer. I'm hoping though, with the fact that they've actually lowered the number of Miis in this game versus the 3DS game, that means that there's going to be a lot more content in terms of different events that happen, dialogue and all of that stuff. I'm also curious to know how this is going to work with it being a real lifetime game. Does this mean that I might run out of things to do each day and have to wait until the next day to log in? Much like Animal Crossing, the previous game had seasons, holiday events and stuff like that, which I'm sure is going to keep me coming back for more. But one of my biggest worries is actually that maybe I'm not creative or funny enough to actually have a good time playing Tomodachi Life. The demo did make me feel a little bit better about this, with there being absolutely hilarious cutscenes regardless of what I said and did. But it's not something that hasn't popped into my head every now and again while watching other people play. The final thing I do want to warn about is the fact that Tomodachi Life Living the Dream has, as of this moment, fully leaked online. So just be a little bit careful when you're out there looking up stuff about this game, because you're going to start to come across some spoilers. I do think one of the nice things about Tomodachi Life, though, is the fact that everyone's playthrough is going to be so unbelievably different depending on what Miis they decide to make. And if you're someone like me who has been playing a lot of Procopia, then check this video out for some essential tips and tricks.